All right. We're live again, and yeah, so the uh, we'll be wiring in the Twitter API now. So let's go ahead and do that. Uh, I'm gonna switch this to mobile just so it takes up less space, and then we're not gonna require Figma, but we'll keep this going. Cool. So let's see if we can figure out what it is we need to be doing here. Um, so essentially what you want is we want to retrieve the categories, assuming, there are two ways this can work. The first is the first time you run it, we're going to retrieve, uh, let's see if we can come up with a plan here. So first time, retrieve all tweets, and then so first run retrieve all tweets, all bookmarked tweets, get full length tweets, and then categorize the bookmarks. And then once you're done with the categorization, the next step is assign, well, find categories and generate categories, and then assign bookmarks to each category. And then obviously this part will actually be repeated for custom categories. They would go through the same section here. Um, cool. So assign bookmarks to each category. Let's see. Oh, assign bookmarks to each category. This would apply to custom categories. This would apply to custom categories as well. And then subsequent runs, essentially what we do is just use the cached values. So this obviously gets cached. I mean, essentially everything should get cached. And I imagine, like, to avoid sort of straining about requiring the backend in the first place, I'm thinking like it would actually make sense to just store everything, like cache everything client side. Maybe just cache everything client side, and then subsequent runs just sort of display whatever is shown client side. So get full length tweets, store them client side. This will get cached. This will get cached. That gets cached, and then subsequent runs just run off the cache. So basically everything gets cached client side. And the only reason you want to cache it client side is to avoid the need. Or maybe not even cache it client side, like you probably want to do it server side. I don't know. I'm trying to simplify things. I'm just trying to come up with a way where we minimize the amount of work that we need to do. And yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. So subsequent runs would just read cached values. Read cached values method. Like nothing's going to change. You're not going to sync with the Twitter backend again. So there's really no need. You're just running off cached values. Cool. Yeah, seems like a database would probably be. Man, I heard about this database thing. I wanted to explore. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I completely forgot. Just give me a sec. All right. The database thing. Database. Hmm. See if I can look at it. Man, like this, I explicitly remember seeing this. Where was it? I'm trying to search my hmm, convex, convex dev. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's the one. Convex, convex dev. That's good. I mean, I know you're not supposed to try like, oh, that's a backend all the time, all the time. I mean, it's supposed to be super simple to use with Next.js. So I'm wondering if, okay, that sounds super compelling. All right, real time, all the time, build fast, break nothing. Okay, you got me. Let's start. Let's see. I've never actually used it, so we'll go ahead and see how that goes. In the meantime, so yeah, I mean the whole cache thing. I guess if you can get by using some other thing, then yeah, why not, right? Stack, schemas, AI, discover convex. What's stack? Oh, okay. All right, it's just their newsletter thing. I mean, I'm interested in using convex with Next.js here, so that's what I want to see here. npm install, npm run dev. Okay, so maybe that's like the first step, right? It's just setting up the DB. Let me just make sure we're what? Just the shadow. Yeah. All right. The video. Nice. All right. Let's watch the video together.
Yesterday, I'm hosting a hackathon, and it is sponsored by Convex. And I wanted to make a quick little tutorial video just to show you how to get started with Convex. It's actually super straightforward. I'm going to go to their Next.js quick start guide, and we're going to try to follow this. So I'm going to go ahead and run this to set up the latest Next.js application. I'll just go ahead and do it in my current folder, which is called Convex in minutes. All right, Next.js is set up. Now let's go ahead and run npm install convex so we can get that as a dependency of our project. And while that's also running, let's go back and we're going to run npx convex dev when that is done. All right, so when you run this for the first time in a new project, and it may ask you to kind of set up your convex configuration, you can just go ahead and say, I want to create a new project, and I'm going to use the name of this directory that we're in. And once you've done that, you'll get access to your convex dashboard, where you can see up here, we have that project that we just created, and we have access to see all the functions in the database and the files and the logs and other things inside of this dashboard. This dashboard ends up becoming really useful when you're trying to do your development and prototyping, because you can kind of go through here and just invoke things manually if you want to. And I might show you some of that functionality. Second thing we're going to do is let's just go ahead and run my next app. All right, let's go down real quick. Before you can get started with Next.js, you do have to create a convex client provider.tsx. So I'm going to go here in my app directory, and let's just create one. And we're going to copy all that code, paste it in, save it. And then secondly, we're going to be using this provider inside of our layout. So let's go and import that at the top. And then down here, we're going to use that line to wrap our children. Okay, that's all you have to do. Now you're set up with Convex, you can start interacting with queries, mutations, and actions. So I'm going to try to keep this little overview as fast and simple as possible, which means that we're not going to be building out anything crazy. We're just going to do like a to-do list tracker. The first thing I want to cover in Convex is that you have this Convex directory that gets set up when you do npx convex dev. And inside of this directory, you have the ability to define your schemas. You can create your files that have actions, mutations, and queries. What we want to do is I'm going to make a new one called like to-do, or to-dos, whatever you want to call it. And you can put any type of things in here, right? So in our case, we want the ability for the user to add in a to-do list item inside our Convex database. So inside this directory, I'm actually going to go to the mutations documentation, and we're going to go ahead and just bring in these two imports, like so. And then we want to export a function. So I'll say export const create to-do is equal to mutation, and then we can go ahead and pass that an object that has a handler function in it, okay? So this is how you can basically write data into your Convex database. You have to use mutation, and if you go and read up about mutations, you'll find out that basically everything you do inside a mutation is transactional. So you can't really contact the third-party API inside a mutation. Those would have to be done in actions, okay? So for a mutation, it's just taking some data and store it in the database. So how do you actually take in some data? Well, there's another argument here called args that you can pass to the mutation, and I'm going to go ahead and just define what needs to come in. I'm going to go ahead and say this thing needs to take in some text as a property, and I'll say v.string. Okay? So now if you were to call this from the front end, it's going to tell you that, hey, you need to pass it some text. So now that we have this as an argument, let's go ahead and set up two different arguments for the handler. We have context, which is going to have your variables needed to write things to the database, and then you also have args, which if you hover over it, you'll see you have text here. So pretty straightforward. We're going to say await. We'll say context.db.insert. But notice that you have a bunch of other methods here. You can do queries, patches, replaces. I'm going to do insert, and you're going to pass the string of whatever database that you want. In our case, we're going to say to-dos, and we're going to pass in text is equal to args.text. Okay, now before I dive into showing you how to integrate the front end with this, I do want to mention that there's something called an internal mutation that you can also use, and this is useful if you don't want the mutation to ever be accessed from the front end. Okay, so you can actually have actions invoke other internal mutations, or like kind of like private queries, internal mutations, internal actions. Just give you the extra security. But in our case, we do want this to be accessed from the front end, so we're going to make that a public mutation. Now let's go back to the page here, and in order to get this going, let's just make a form, and we'll make a input, and we'll make a button that says create. Okay, now on the form, we'll say on submit. We're going to go ahead and take in a e, and I'll say prevent default. And we're going to have to basically call the mutation here at some point. And for the input, I'm going to go ahead and just track some state here. So I'll say const text set text equals useState of empty string. And then we will say value is equal to text. And on change, we will say e set text e.target.value. Make sure you auto import that. And I'm also going to add a use client to the top of this since we're using hooks here. Okay, so now that we have a form and we submit it, we should have access to the thing that the user typed in. What we also want to do is I'm going to go ahead and try to call a mutation. So with convex, you can actually bring that mutation if you want to. Like I said, create to do is equal to use mutation. Go ahead and auto import that. And then we're also going to import an API object. And notice that this has the autocomplete for the to-dos file that you just created and the create to do method that you just created, right? So that's auto correcting for this file in this method. And as you add more mutations and queries, those will show up. So let's go ahead and call this. So now we have a function that we can go down here. We can just call it, and we're going to pass it text. So going back to our UI, let's just go ahead and type in some stuff. I think the text is white for some reason. Let's go ahead and fix that real quick. I'll say class name. I'm sorry, text black. There we go. And I'm going to say hello world. And I'm going to click create. And let's go to our convex dashboard. And you'll see that now we have a table here called to-dos that has our entry. Okay. Let me show you another thing. There is a show schema at the bottom. And if you were to click this, convex is going to generate their recommended schema that you can use for the data that you currently have, right? So notice that when we try to store stuff in convex, it doesn't give us autocomplete for like what are our table names, okay? Kind of like up in the air. So you can really improve the type safety by going over here and say schema.ts and just paste that in. So now if I do double quotes here and I click to-dos, notice that it shows up and we get type safety for the things that we're actually storing into that table. All right, so now let's try to get these to-dos displayed on the page somewhere. Okay, so there's another concept in convex called a query, where we can go ahead and make a function called get to-dos equals to query. Again, this is a public query. If you want it to be private, you do internal query. This thing is going to take in a handler like so. And when you have this handler, you have access to the context here. And context, like we saw before, has a database object you can use. So I'm going to say return context.db.query. And then we have access to that to-dos table, and then I'm going to say .collect. So that'll fetch all the data that's in our to-dos table, and we can invoke this query from the front end. Now, if you're doing this with Next and React, the way convex works is they communicate with WebSockets. So when you set up this query, I'll just select to-dos is equal to use query, and I'll say api.todos.getTodos. When you set up this hook, this is basically connecting to convex with WebSockets, and anytime this data changes, your UI will update. Okay, so let's go down here and notice that this is an array of to-dos, which is potentially undefined. I'm going to go down, I'm going to go right above the form. I'll say to-dos, question mark dot map, and I'll say to-do. And what we want to do is we want to return a list of to-dos dot text. Okay, we can also key off of to-do dot underscore ID if you want to. So inside here, let's do flex. Let's say flex column gap 4, just so that we have some nice looking to-dos. If we go back to our UI, you'll see that the to-do is actually showing up here. So now as I create new to-dos, that'll automatically get updated and displayed in the UI. Remember, we didn't have to write any manual logic to update the UI because behind the scenes, this is just giving notifications from a subscription on the WebSocket. This thing will update as your data changes, which I think is actually pretty cool. One thing I'll do is when we submit, let's just clear the text. Let's say set text is equal to empty string. And now we can go ahead and just like keep typing here like that. And I want to demo this effect one more time. So if we go to our dashboard, let's just go ahead and delete a few of these. Okay, I'll delete those documents, go back to our UI. Notice that they've all been cleared out. One thing I do want to talk about are actions. So there's another concept if you go to the documentation, there's something called an action. And if you ever want to integrate with a third-party API, such as like an open AI service or like a dictionary API, you have to use actions. Actions are a way to communicate with third-party libraries, and those actions can also invoke other mutations and queries, right? So using that context object that you get, you can do more mutations. So typically the flow is you have an action, the action does an API request, you get some data back, you're going to use that data and pass it to a mutation to store it in your context database, and then your UI will just update if you have a query that's listening for that table or for that data. So some things are also worth mentioning is that Convex has file storage, so you can store files directly in Convex if you want to. Authentication.
I think we got everything that we need here. Oh, what's going on? Promo SM. All right. Not really sure what you mean by that. T. Watkins. Cool. All right. Convex. Why not? Why not? I mean, it seems like convex is pretty simple, like pretty easy to get started. So I guess we could just use that. Where is Next.js? So React, Next.js page. No, app router. All right. So we need a client provider. Yeah, why not? So we got UI. Go ahead and add this. Oops. So I guess you want um, clerk or auth0. I guess you could do clerk with like Twitter. Clerk Twitter. I don't know if you can use that, or if you need to create your own. I guess you could create your own app. Um, Let me see. Yeah, this kind of makes it difficult. Latest version. Okay. Okay. I mean, you can use it directly. You don't actually need to use it. And since we're using Twitter bookmarks, you don't have to introduce like a third party. That wouldn't make any sense. So let's just keep it as is. We're not going to use clerk for this, which is actually a good point. Like, how are you going to do authentication? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to come back to this. Does he have a link to the, I don't know, main background color? Right. I mean, convex. Yeah. I want it without auth. Next.js. Quick start. Okay, that's what I want. So let's do that. Create a random time. Oh wait, npx create. Yeah. Okay. I assume it's smart enough to realize that this is an existing app. Install convex. npm install convex. Okay. Paste plus part of you. Okay. npx convex dev. Next.js app router. Mm, no. I guess a better way to do this is to actually, so obviously log in with Twitter is going to be step one, retrieve bookmark tweets, get full length tweets. I don't think you need to worry about cached. Everything is going to be cached. Yeah, pretty much everything is going to be cached. And let's see what's going on here. Still setting off. Okay. Is this temp? These are my bookmark tweets. Oh, okay. Yeah, sidebar. Yeah, whatever. And this is just the temporary thing. And Prev, what's Prev? Oh, yeah, yeah, the streaming stuff. I guess this would be like an action inside Convex. We already have bookmarks here. Yeah, cool. All right. I mean, I'll keep all that. I don't think any of that is going to change. So, wait, what? Come on. You created another directory? Are you crazy? Guys, I mean, I didn't want to create another directory. Right. Okay. So, npx create next app. Cool. npm install convex. We'll need to do that manually. npx convex dev. That's going to set it up locally. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. All right, npx convex dev. Okay, yeah, I did. Project name. All right. Oh, okay. So, cool. Project. That's right here. And interesting. Okay. Um, I suppose we could just create the, yeah, I think you would have a convex directory. New folder, convex, and convex provider here. Okay, that was overrun? No. Yeah, not sure it was. So we're not going to be using, okay. So convex provider. I think it was, you were supposed to call it convex client provider. Yeah, that's not the name. Convex client provider. Okay. Right. Okay, yeah. And use client at the top. Yeah, looks exactly the same. It's exactly what we got. Children, convex provider. Cool. And then wire up the convex client provider. So export, you gotta go to task and then um, convex slash task. So inside here, I think you have to run npx convex dev, and that comes from generated. I'm not seeing generated anywhere. Okay, so inside layout, you gotta import the convex client provider and then wrap children with this provider. So like this. Okay. And yeah, I think this needs to be TSA. No? Well, what is it? Yes. So look at why this, why you're supposed to do this. npx convex import table and then pass in. Okay. I see you need to create the table. Why is it not getting generated? There it is. Convex slash generated. Wait. Oh, it's a directory above. Interesting. So this needs to go inside here. Okay. So just delete this. Okay. All right. Now it's okay. Then I can create. You can get. Cool. So I think that's pretty much it. Convex clerk. We're not using convex with clerk, so don't care about that. We're just gonna have some tasks and then convex client provider, so that's done. Wire up the client provider, that's done. And then you can display data on any page that you like. So let's go ahead and test that. I guess here on the main page, and we could just you're gonna need some authentication on how. I mean, it's great that they have options for authentication, but if you're gonna do custom authentication, issue ID tokens and verify them. Um, okay. Yeah, so you're gonna have to create your own sort of custom authentication thing. Uh, yeah, getting a bit more complicated. I guess what I want to do is first off just make sure that we can retrieve the details, and then we can do the auth stuff. So as long as we're sure that we can fetch all the info we need from the database, um, everything else becomes like straightforward, right? So you have a tasks table. You want to add some documents. You simply have to enter the field. And we actually do have the fields that we get back, which are these, right? And we could also set this up so that it includes, so you would have, um, there's an ID field, right? Yeah, underscore ID. Every document has a global unique string document ID that is automatically generated. So presumably I wouldn't need to provide like our own ID. We just have to provide like a string value of this ID. Um, so let's just say this one, and then snippet, and the snippet is going to be this full text. It's just going to be like the full text version of the tweet, which I don't think I have here. Um, yeah, I don't think I have this here, but for the purposes of this demo, I guess you could just, what's the fastest way to get this? Maybe just ask ChatGPT to provide the full text version. Man, you gotta be kidding me. I'm just gonna say full text version goes here. Cool. All right. So just say that. Hmm. Yeah. I guess you could also edit. Um, so yeah, full text ID and snippet. I could also add a category. based on like anything that we set. And so you would have a list of all tweets. You would retrieve a list of all tweets and store them using this format. Um, that would be like part of the information that you would need to store. Um, let's go back to the to dos here. So list of all tweets. So tables, DB tables. We have tweets. We have users, and then maybe users would have categories, and then tweets. So list of bookmarks, um, a list of users with their own categories, and what else you got? Yeah, I think that's essentially all you need. And then you can add and remove categories, and with each bookmark, you can assign a category. So you can assign the specific category under bookmarks. So if I go back to, let's do the same thing here. I would actually delete table, and create one called bookmarks, and add a document here, which includes the ID snippet, the category, and the full text. Yeah, so category could be anything. I'll guess startup growth. Thing is, like, you can have a tweet belong to multiple categories, so I'm not really sure how this would actually work. I guess instead you would have your own categories table with a list of IDs, right? That's how this would work. So you have a categories, and then categories would have user ID, and then yeah, user ID and category. So essentially, like user categories, that's what you have here, and you would probably have tweet IDs. Yeah, like SEO, for instance, and then my user ID. I don't know what the user ID is, but I'm just assuming it's Jasmine time. Your bookmark IDs. Okay, cool. Bookmark, you have IDs, full text snippet, creation time, full text ID, and snippet. I guess you have a user, right? I mean, bookmarks naturally would need to have some sort of user that they belong to. Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so you have bookmarks and categories. I can't think of any other table that we would need for now. So I think that's gonna be enough. And yeah, so for each one, we're going to retrieve all the details. So when you, I'm going to forget off for a second. I'm going to skip off for a second. Retrieve all bookmark tweets. So I'm going to assume that they already exist, and we simply want to um, ID snippet user ID. So we're just going to take bookmarks. We're going to assign. I think we have in here ID, and then we have text. Okay, so we're just going to replace text here um, with snippet. Just replace all of them, and then user ID. So you're gonna actually just replace ID. Yeah, yeah. You could just do a search replace for ID with user ID, and that would be my user ID and then ID, right? That should do it. Cool. All right, so we should be able to just insert the whole thing under bookmark. And of course, we haven't provided the full text on any of them. So yeah, I mean, that's just something to consider. Creation time, I don't have it stored. We probably need creation time, so we need to add that in somehow. Anyway, retrieve all bookmarked tweets. We can do that, and then essentially just insert them. Let's wire up the UI just so that we can see the bookmark tweet under the all section. So that should be super straightforward. We'll come to that in a second, but for now, um, we can go here. We can say schema. All right, copy, and then convex slash schema dot ts. So convex schema dot ts. Just paste that in here. Okay, and yeah, undo. There's a. Oh, I guess we lost that file. Cool. So I'll just do bookmarks. Yes. Okay. So how do you run on that schema? Next. Yeah, there it is. So mutation, what I want is query. So let's just do that. And then you're going to do some set of tasks. It's going to be bookmarks. So yeah, get bookmarks. That's going to be super straightforward. And then you just have to go to your page here. And instead of having tweet go like this, you're just going to iterate over each one. And you need to know number of bookmarks as well, huh? Yeah. Okay. So you need num bookmarks. Hmm. And would you show tweet date or bookmark whatever? And then bookmark date? No, tweet date. Tweeted on 2020 Yeah, something like that. Yeah. How do you make it optional? So you can't save it because there are already fields on there. I guess the easiest way would be to actually retrieve it. And the way I did this before was I think I retrieved it using Python. So let me see. This was actually in the other directory. So if I go up one directory, yeah, I have, let's just cursor that directory. And then you had index.js, right? So authentication using this, and then you just call a new client. I think I had client, where's the client defined? Yeah, social data is required. Social data. Where's that? Okay, that's the social data website. But if I go to auth, okay. All right. We have an auth client from Twitter API SDK, and presumably use that to get like a token, which you can then use to request um, uh, so auth just calls. Yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Okay, yeah, cool. All right, yeah. So what I'm gonna do now is just copy all of this, add it to. I'm gonna move this over here. Let's see. What you're gonna do is you're gonna create a folder for Twitter, and then under Twitter, and maybe you could just have like a lib folder, and then inside that you have Twitter, and then there you would put in your auth. Oh, is that TS or JS? You'd have your auth, you'd have your social data, okay, okay. Right, so that gets you lib Twitter. So here you're gonna get tweets, which would return all bookmarked tweets. And the first time you do this, you would need to save it to convex somehow, and you need to do this client side, right? Server side, server side. Fetch all bookmarked tweets into DB. Yeah, okay. We use, let's just see from here. Yeah, and I think with JS. Yeah. I don't know if this runtime edge thing is actually required. And how do you return the response? Return text response. Okay. We're not very text responsive here. All right, and then for this bit, we're actually just going to require or rely on um, the stuff that we did earlier. So you're going to have import, what is it, client, lib, client. No, I don't want to do it relative. But this is not TypeScript, which is why this won't work. Yeah, you can do it TypeScript, right? Import client lib. What's going on? Huh. Yeah, I have that defined. Weird. Inside lib. Why won't it work? Um, so let's just go back to using. Is it JSX or JS? Oh, okay. This has got to be TX. Import client from. Oh, you gotta go at app, then lib, then Twitter, then auth. Okay. No default export. Okay, and export default class. Function data. Cool. All right. So fetch all bookmark tweets. Here we're going to rely on basically what we did earlier, which is you're going to use your token and then fall off using token or authenticate using this. Hmm. Paste the redirected callback here, and then, okay. Yeah, that's not going to work. Like you would need to get that from, so basically what need to happen is you need to generate the URL and then, okay, so what we could do is export an async function. We could have get generate the URL and generate the Twitter authentication URL. Okay. Come on, help me out here. Why is Copilot not doing anything? Huh? Is there like um response off plane or something? There's JSON. Yeah, okay. I guess you could return JSON. What is it? Next response? Oh, you gotta do next response. Okay, so you call that, you get a redirect URL, and oh, okay. So that one redirects you automatically. Yeah, even better. Okay, so you can just do redirect. So that would probably be better, right? You would automatically redirect to that URL. Next response dot. Mhm. And then when you call post, so that'll presumably return to a page where you can actually read the request, and then you would receive the uh, whatever the parameters are. I think it includes. So you get the request, and then I have no idea why. What is this? Why can't I use Copilot? That's weird. For some reason, I can't use Copilot. That's our plan. Just gonna restart it. See if that helps. Okay, presumably that's working. Um, read JSON from body. So you just read the URL and then URL. That's going to be pedigree initialize off. Yeah, let's just open the parent directory here. That'll be initialize off. And that's going to be auth is new client. Okay. I think we need to fix this URL. It'll work. Install Twitter API SDK. No, I think it's getting messed up. There was a token. Yeah, it's getting messed up. I'm just gonna move it back to JavaScript instead of wasting time with all this. Yeah, cool. All right, just leave it as is. All right. So auth is new auth. Blah blah blah. Just do any, and then I think this is the class auth, right? Yeah. Okay. Don't care about any of that. Fetch and save bookmark tweets. That's going to fetch all of the details, and we should be able to get it working. So let's go ahead and test this out. I made a lot of changes, so I just want to make sure that everything is working. Okay. All right, so let's run this. Did I just do dot and we can just move this over and make sure we have our dot end file set. We're gonna need, yeah, a few things here. All right, that's set up now. Cool. Let's run this locally. So we actually created a Twitter route. So if you go to localhost and then API/Twitter, and if you get this specific endpoint, it should redirect you to. All right, cool.
Now you're set up with convex, you can start interacting with queries, mutations, and actions. So I'm going to try to keep this little overview as fast and simple as possible.
Oh, I was playing this one. How do you not? What's this? Is that because of the edge thing? Cannot resolve crypto. Yeah, probably an edge thing. Cool, nice. That actually works. So that'll bring you back to localhost, passing in the access token that I would need. And then that should get submitted somehow to this. Sorry about that. The volume is way too high. Cool. So let's send the request here. Missing parameter code verifier. Okay. So something went wrong. That would have been here somewhere. Let's try that again. Okay, so we got the URL back, and then you're calling off fetch token, passing in the URL. That gets you the token, and then calls fetch token. Then you call fetch and saved. Okay. Hmm. Alright, that's fine. Why is this failing though? It seems like it's supposed to call this method over here, but it doesn't even get there. Weird. You're calling new social data. Find my user. Okay. Huh. It's not debugging it. Weird. It's calling auth.fetch token. And then you call await. Huh. When you're passing in auth. So what if you were to just do await and then so wait, hang on. Let's cancel that. Run it again. Now I'm just gonna call find my user and then yeah. So let's run it this time. Failed. It's not stopping at the right spot. I mean, fetch token works, right? No. Well, even fetch token doesn't work anymore. Okay, this is weird. It's not debugging. Like, supposed to stop here. It's not. Thing missing required parameter code verifier. Is that happening when you call new auth? Weird. Hmm. So you get a token, await auth.fetch token, which you can then authenticate with, using that saved token. It seems like the URL has already been like consumed, which is why this is not working. Uh, Presumably, if I try it again and pass in a different URL, that should now work. So let's see. I replace that with another URL. Okay, that's still failing. So you call fetch token with that URL and it still fails. because you're missing required parameter code verifying. Huh. But you have specified code challenge. Oh, because you haven't called generate auth URL. Is that why? Do you have to call generate auth URL beforehand? That'd be weird. Uh, maybe, possibly. Yeah, give it a shot. Why not? Value password authorization code is invalid. Okay. All right, this is confusing. I mean, this was working locally just fine. Um, for some reason, it's not working now, and it's driving me mad. So you get redirected to Twitter, you authorize, and then you get back a code, and then you want to authenticate using this authorization URL, which you get back, which includes, the code itself. And at that point, like you call fetch token to exchange the code itself for an access token. And yeah, that token's not working. That token is not working. Okay. All right. I'm gonna call it a day here. My brain's getting fried. So I'm gonna stop here, and then maybe we give this another stab later today. Just get the authentication part working so that we can retrieve the tweets themselves once more. And then once we're certain that we can retrieve the tweets, we would write them to the database and we'd be able to update the UI using Convex. Should be pretty straightforward, but uh, so many things should be pretty straightforward. You never know this profession, do you?